If this isn't your first time here, you know, usually I do animation celebration solo. And occasionally I'll do a retro review or a current critique all by myself. If I'm not mistaken, I have never done an all or nothing without at least one or more than one of the guys. Well, this will be a first. I'm going to do a summertime solo all or nothing when I look back and review a 2010 and a 2015 movie from the franchise Hot Tub Time Machine, and then subsequently review Hot Tub Time Machine 2. And so hopefully I don't mess anything up or miss out, because after that open rolls, it's going to be just me, just Oz from the channel Mr. Super Oz, talking about Hot Tub Time Machine 1 and Hot Tub Time Machine 2 for the all or nothing. So, before I start the movie reviews, plural, I just gotta talk about what this channel exists for, and that is to let you, the viewer, subscriber, the liker, the commenter, the person I'm glad is here, I have to let you know that I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors, Volume 1, all day long. There are 5 cover options that are purchasable. There are hats and shirts and posters, all available if you simply follow the link in the description of this video or any other video on the channel, and you can get yourself any of these fine products. As I said before the open rolled and before the ad read, Hot Tub Time Machine came out, the first one, in 2010. It runs 1 hour, 39 minutes. I really enjoy the setup of the primary character. In just about 5 minutes, you see why everyone needs a time machine. So, the main character is played by John Cusack, but he also has friends who are with him, Rob Corddry and Clark Duke and Craig Robinson. It's a great group of friends. They're very enjoyable. Rob Corddry's character's name is Lou, and he's the worst. He attempts to, well, check out, we'll say, and when his friends show up to the hospital and they have the plan to take him to a place they all enjoyed, a cabin, Kodiak Valley. He pulls out the catheter that the hospital had put into him, and he says, "Oh, it's just pee," when the pee hits his friends. At one point, Jacob, Clark Duke's character, says that Lou looks like Stewie from Family Guy, and that's fairly accurate. K Valley, or Kodiak Valley, is a dead town, but that's kind of the beauty of having a time machine. I'm sure we'll be able to see it in its prime. One thing I certainly enjoy about this time travel film is the appearance of Crispin Glover from Back to the Future fame, and he's a bellhop for this resort they're staying at for nostalgia's sake. It's just crazy how much of an a-hole Lou is. Even those friends, Adam, played by John Cusack, and Nick, played by Craig Robinson, they really are looking out for Lou, but he doesn't feel like he's looking out for them or even himself, because not long after they arrive at the cabin, he's like, "Let's get cocaine." I think he says, "And make a memory," something like that. And it just it seems sad that Lou is the way that he is, to me at least. Like, his mindset, his characterization just isn't easy to get behind. So when Lou realizes that they have a hot tub, they all get in it, and he's bragging about this Russian Red Bull type of drink that he has, and he spills it on the controls. And obviously that's what's going to inadvertently or unexpectedly turn this regular hot tub into a time machine. It's funny to me how easy it is to laugh at how bad these friends are, because I mean, especially Lou, they're just not really good, and even honestly, each one of them kind of have bad traits or characteristics that, like I said, it makes it easy to laugh at them, not so much with them. It's fun to see Sebastian Stan, the future Winter Soldier, show up here, and he is your stereotypical '80s villain, and I just love it. He's the jock hero type, but obviously when your quote unquote heroes are anti-heroes, then your villain tends to look like the hero, if you will, the traditional hero that is. I love that the friends don't even realize that they went back in time in the beginning. And, when they figure it out, it's just so fun. In the big scene where Nick Weber is figuring out they went back in time, he said, "Dude is rocking a cassette player." "Excuse me, miss, what color is Michael Jackson?" It's just like they say the most crazy but fun things. So, one thing I forgot to mention about seeing Crispin Glover in the 2010 version of the movie is he only had one arm. And, the friends obviously wondered how he lost his arm, and it becomes extra point of conversation when they see Crispin Glover in 1986, since they went back in time, and he has both of his arms. And so it's a fun little gag that happens throughout them trying to figure out when he loses his arm. Speaking of 1986, the friends have went back in time to Winterfest 1986. Old Rob, John, and Craig see themselves as young versions of themselves when they look in the mirror. The interesting change, though, is Clark Duke's character of Jacob appears to be the same. Obviously because he didn't exist back then. And at this point, after they realize they all look young, except for the one who's already young, we meet Chevy Chase, who is a hot tub repairman. This movie is just stupid fun. The friends are trying to remember what they all did 20 years ago to be able to not mess things up in the future, because they all understand the general concept of the butterfly effect or just time travel in general. Only none of them are going to redo the past, because if you get a second chance you take it. Like, that's just the logical thing that you do. When Jacob sees his mom, he's messed up by it. He doesn't see her as, her younger self, obviously, because, everybody sees their parents as the way they are, not the way they once were. It's funny, so I notated, I said Lou's going to be Jacob's dad for sure, because they had such a contentious relationship, the two of them, Lou and Jacob, that it only felt right. And so it just something that jumped out at me. As Lou and Jacob are walking, they see that Crispin Glover is making ice sculptures with a chainsaw, and Lou is convinced this is where Crispin Glover's character, the bellhop, will lose his arm, but he doesn't. He's disappointed by it. Moments later, Sebastian Stan and Rob Corddry get into a fight, which is funny because this is one of the things that all the friends believe needs to stay intact to maintain the original timeline. At a Poison concert in 1986, John Cusack sees the crazy chick from the the Paramount Plus streaming service reboot of Fatal Attraction. And the upside is she doesn't seem to be crazy. So, thumbs up for that. Her character's name is April, and she, is pretty laid back and chill. So many fun lines just come out like every minute. At one point, Jacob is telling Nick and Adam that Lou tried to rope him into a three-way. And he said, "My friends are ridiculous." At that point, all of the adult friends take off, and Jacob says, "Fine, take off. I don't need to be born." George McFly keeps keeping his arm no matter what happens. And every time that Lou sees that Crispin Glover doesn't lose his arm, he gets more angry. He says, "I want to take it off for him." Just like Lou getting in a fight was supposed to stay, Adam breaking up with his girlfriend was supposed to stay, but he decides not to break up with her. And the funny part is, she breaks up with him, and he gets stabbed in the eye when she finds out he was going to break up with her. The hot tub repairman, Chevy Chase, says the trip ends at dawn, and Jacob is concerned. He knows he needs to get everybody together, although Chevy Chase's character basically speaks in riddles all the time, so Jacob just takes that to mean they have to leave in the morning. And so he's trying to find everybody to get them all together so they can get back to the time they come from. It's funny because not only does Chevy Chase basically talk in riddles, but his character is kind of treated like a ghost. He can pop in and pop out as needed. Lou says to Nick, "Let's go to the bar and plan our empire. We could combine Twitter and Viagra." Twitagra. Such great musical selection throughout this movie, whether it's Poison or Jesse's Girl. Just so much fun happening. Adam and April show up to Nick's concert. So Nick Weber, he feels unfulfilled because in his 2010 life, he didn't continue pursuing his passion of playing music. And so he gets on stage as his younger self, and he's playing songs that aren't even around yet. And it's just fun and funny. Another fun part of it is that Lou had told his friends, Adam and Nick, don't let him down, because in the original 1986, he got beat up by 6 guys at midnight. And when Nick is done performing, he and Adam realize, crap, we once again didn't help Lou. And so they go to find Lou and see that he is on a rooftop, once again trying to, not do good things. And so while he's up there, all of the friends, the whole crew, they slip off, and they're holding hands, but they're about to fall off this roof, because they're all drunk and stupid. And then we finally figure out why Crispin Glover in 1986 has both arms, unlike how he does in 2010. It's because he comes in and saves the day. He protects the whole crew and gets them off the roof. So George McFly is the one true hero. Before the friends, the whole crew, before all of them go back to 2010, Nick, he breaks down and he calls his wife. Only the problem is she's only 9 years old, and he's yelling at her because he knows but has never confronted her about her cheating on him. And so, that didn't go well because she's only 9, not married, and quite confused. So Lou wants to stay in the past in 1986, and Adam tries to stay with him, but instead Lou pushes Adam into the hot tub time machine, and when Jacob, Adam, and Nick return to 2010, Lou is rich. Instead of doing the Twitagra idea, Lou decides to invent Google, except he calls it Loogle. It's a fun and stupid idea, but that's basically what this movie is just a fun, stupid idea. But it's a well-executed, fun, stupid idea, And so I give it a very good 4 out of 5 rating. I think that it is fun for what it is and well worth your time, especially if you're like me, sleep deprived or, a little inebriated. It can be a good time. Hot Tub Time Machine 2 from 2015 runs 1 hour and 33 minutes. Three of the 4 original friends from the main cast return for Hot Tub Time Machine 2. John Cusack is the one of the friends that does not return for this one. We open with a semi like behind the music type of thing, a docu-series, if you will, where all of the friends are being interviewed. Jacob, Nick, Lou, and Adam gets talked about. He just doesn't happen to be there. And in the documentary, the behind the music type thing, they say that Adam is a successful writer of Jacuzzi Time Lord. And so Jacob says, when it is brought up that Lou invented Lugal, he says that he couldn't invent his way out of a wet paper bag. The sequel is pretty nuts. So, the hot tub made me king. I need to live up to the throne. It's just as wild as the first one. And the interesting thing to me is, so I was thinking about this after watching the movie, actually. I'm far more forgiving of movies to do things that I don't enjoy, being crude or vulgar and off the wall, than I am series. I was thinking about it. So a series that does something I dislike, I'll drop it. But a movie, when it does something I'm not a fan of, I'll stick with it because, well, I think it's due to the brevity of movies and the fact that there's that end point. Whereas with TV shows, if they do things that I'm not a fan of, I tend to drop them more quickly because, well, once you go down that path and let it continue, then who knows how long it'll continue doing things that you're not a fan of. I just thought it was interesting. The concept of being willing to let things slide in one area where you don't another. So I wrote, Lou is a super dick. Rich or poor, Lou is a bad person. Lou got shot in the nether regions, and it's revealed that Lou had hidden the hot tub in his mansion. and it's funny, so when they go to use the hot tub to go back in time, they said don't mess with the winning formula because, this is a sequel to a movie and they're doing very similar type things, only this time, instead of going back to the past, they unintentionally go to 10 years in the future, 2025, which is crazy to think how close we are to 2025 now. Chevy Chase is back, and just as elusive as he was in the first film, very unclear with his verbiage, and so it's funny because Nick says to the gang, he says, "It's like Terminator," and they're like, "You think everything's like Terminator?" They did a good job of changing up the style while making the movie still feel familiar, so that's a plus. I wish Adam, the character that John Cusack played, was still here. They describe him like his whole life, and he comes up a lot. And I realized that the reason they're talking about him so often is because they're looking him up in the future, and they find out that he has a son, also named Adam, that he didn't even know that he had. So in the year 2025, they have smart cars that drive themselves, and when a smart car pulls up to the gang, it makes an assessment of all of the characters, and it calls Clark Duke's Jacob Fat Bruce Willis, which I thought was pretty funny. The new Adam who's the son of the original Adam, is not as good as John Cusack. Adam Scott is playing Adam Jr., and I've never really liked him. The only thing that I found somewhat enjoyable, and maybe there are good things out there, but I haven't seen them. But the only thing that I found him semi-enjoyable in was The Good Place, which is a really enjoyable show. But the reason I found him, I don't know, passable, if you will, in The Good Place is because I disliked his character, but it's because he was playing a unlikable character, so it fit. And every other time I see that actor playing a character, I'm like, oh, don't really like you, and I don't know if that's even what I'm supposed to be thinking. Halfway into the movie, and Adam Jr. seems to be growing a little bit, but, still not the biggest of fans, so at least he's getting better, I guess. Classic Lou. I love you. Stop saying that. I don't want an emotional connection at this moment. Great dialogue written for Nick and Lou when they find themselves in a strange VR interaction, which Lou then tags out and puts Adam Jr. into it. Again, it's one of these situations where it's like, this is not a scene or a concept that I would naturally or normally think was good or entertaining, but for some reason I let this movie slide. I guess it's because they're good at writing the ha-has. So, speaking of things that make me laugh, the hospital in the future is called St. Nicholas Cage, and I just thought that was quite entertaining. I always find it frustrating or sad, maybe, when you meet children of messed up characters, and then the franchise decides they have to mess up the kids, because we find out that Jacob is drugged up and messed up just like his dad. And unfortunately, just like his pops, Jacob goes on a roof. And this time, instead of Crispin Glover being able to come in and make the save, Lou went to the rooftop to prevent his son from taking a swan dive. And they reveal that Lou had created technology between 2015 and 2025 that prevents rooftop checkouts. So when they fall, they're caught. And so that was an interesting development. I won't say it was, great, but at least it was something. The franchise is really good at balancing humor and sorrow, and it's surprising that they're that skilled, I guess. So before Lou gets shot in 2015, we meet a character named Brad Said, and they think that he's the killer, or the guy who attempts to kill Lou in the past. And so throughout the film, the gang is looking for Brad to stop him. Only it wasn't Brad who goes back in time to kill Lou, it is Adam Jr., because Lou decides to be the bad human that he is and sleep with Adam Jr.'s future wife, his current fiance. And this whole thing is just super nuts. It's crazy to say this, but I kind of want a trilogy. That's how well they've done with this, the sequel, this follow-up. I figured it out. The reason I'm not a fan of the actor Adam, who's playing Adam Jr., is because he was being too aloof, too passive-aggressive. And when he becomes angry, I think the actor does a much better job. And when they finally get back to 2015, Lou has an awakening and decides to be a better person. I didn't see Lou getting good as even an option, but I'm glad they did it. So this surprisingly gets once again, another 4 out of 5. So all of the franchise lives on, because that is the theme. That is the concept of All or Nothing. Everything has to get 3 or above or the majority has to get 3 or above to live on. So good job, Hot Tub Time Machine franchise. They pull a big surprise, and they have Lou coming in like colonial gear out of a wormhole and kills off Lou. And he says, "Oh, don't worry, guys, you'll like me better," or something like that. And they really make it seem like they might be giving the franchise a trilogy, although they do all of the stuff that could be done in a third film, I feel like, in the credits, showing them go throughout time and mess with things. And so, as it stands, it seems like we're only going to get the two. And if that's the case, they did a good job. So, thank you for tuning into this All or Nothing, this test run where I do it solo, and come back on Tuesday and Thursday for trivia. Come back on Friday for some Friday free-for-all action, where me and, the channel, Mr. Super Oz, will do more fun content. Thank you. Later.